Yo, this is a tutorial for how to install and use Super Mario Sunshine Camera Tool, which is a program developed by yours truly in order to get clean, good-looking on-a-rail camera shots in Super Mario Sunshine. Of course, its intended use is for making videos or mod trailers, but it's also pretty fun to just mess around with too, so anyone is welcome to use it, obviously. So, first things first, we need to download it. We have a releases page on the GitHub, and by we I mean I. Right now it's just beta 1.0.1, but whatever the latest release is here, it'll be at the top. You click on this icon here, and then you just download the zip. Alright, whenever you download the zip, next what you want to do is take your zip and then extract its contents into whatever folder you'd like. You do want it in its own folder because it has a couple of files. And also a fair warning here, this is why I've already pre-extracted the zip. Even though it's only about 200, 300 megabytes, there are about 20,000 different files in this zip, so it'll probably take a bit longer than you were expecting for it to unzip. That's because of an add-on I have for Godot here. By the way, this program uses Godot, and it adds in Python capabilities for Godot, and that means there are tons and tons of Python files included. Yippee. As far as I'm aware, you don't have to install Python for this to work. So next, before starting the program itself, you first want to start your copy of Sunshine, legally obtained, of course. So it can be any copy of a NTSCU version of Sunshine, so the North American version. So modded copies actually work, so I could launch an Eclipse right now and this program will work perfectly fine, but I have an example already set up in a Sunshine, my custom modded version, my sort of test bed version, if you will. And then once you're in game, you can then open up the program. All right, so as a quick overview before I go ahead and start explaining all of the details of this program, basically what it's going to do is it's going to store the position of the camera and the target of where the camera is looking into what are called points. And you can store as many of these points as you want, and then it'll later string these points across to make the travel camera from point to point and the target to travel from point to point. And that's basically how the rails for this program works. The so-called rails anyways, the digital rails. So you start off just on point 1. If you want to add a point, you press add point. And now we have 2 points. Come down here to edit the points. So this is the position, this is the target. So this would be the position of the camera. Let's just put it at 100 on all axes and make it target -100 on all axes. Great. And if you see, if we come up to point 2, it's still at 0, but point 1 is at the values were already set. If we come up to point 2, and let's say we don't want point 2, you can come down here, nice and out of the way, to the delete point button. There is no warning, so once you delete point, it's gone. There will be an undo system in the future. Hopefully, if I get the time I want to work on this project, we'll see. If you'd like to exactly copy a point you currently have, you can just press duplicate point and that'll automatically make a new point with all the copied values. Oh yeah, and it is worth noting when you press add point or duplicate point, you do have to manually go up to the new point you just created yourself. All right, and of course, with this new point, we could also set this to be, let's go ahead and make it even crazier. Let's make it 1000s and then let's make it look at 000. Now, of course, we can add in these random values where they don't really mean anything because we actually want in-game coordinates. And in order to add in-game coordinates, there are 2 ways. First, let me delete point 3 there, and I'll go ahead and delete point 2 as well. Back onto point 1, and we'll even delete point 1. You can delete point 1, it'll just erase all the features in point 1. You still get to keep point 1. So, first of all, you can press the copy all from game, and this will copy the camera's position, which, by the way, if you need a visual on what the camera position is, if we imagine what's rotating around Mario right now, that is the camera position. If we come down to target, the target position is generally where Mario is going to be. So, in normal gameplay at least. Of course, you can edit the target, but yeah, so if you see, if I copy all from game again, as I'm rotating, these coordinates are changing. The target position does change a little bit. It's not exactly on Mario's position, by the way. So, but if we get Mario and move him around a bit and then copy all from game again, you'll see that the target position has also changed. All right, cool. Now, that's all well and good, but how do we actually use these values? Well, first, for an example, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add a point. I'm going to then copy all from that point. So we have two separate points. And we're going to go back to point 1. And so there are two ways to use these points. First is the preview. So the preview it's going to show us two things. First, it's going to show you the preview feature. But second, it's going to show you that the camera is jittering around a bit. This is because Super Mario Sunshine is fighting with SMS Camera Tool for where it wants the camera to be. SMS Camera Tool says it wants it to be over here. Sunshine says it wants it to be by Mario, basically. So SMS Camera Tool actually already basically deletes the part of the code in Sunshine that's responsible for setting the camera's position and where it's looking. However, Dolphin is not actually expecting an outside program to be editing the code of the game you're playing, so it kind of just assumes it's the same, at least to shorten up the explanation anyways. In order to fix this, all we have to do is come up to JIT after we've already pressed preview point or replay points later in the future, which I'll show you, and you just press clear cache, and there you go. It is now fixed. And maybe it's not fixed. Clear cache. Okay, there we go. Maybe I missed the button there. Okay, so yeah, now the game and SMSCT are no longer going to fight with each other for where the camera should be. SMSCT now has full control. Now, we can switch between our 2 points here to see, indeed, that it is working. Going to the point it was at before, going to the point it's at now. And of course, we actually can edit these points live. So if I wanted to move the camera up a little bit, I can set this to the coordinate 3000 on the y-axis. This will move the camera up. As you see, it moves up. If we wanted to move the target up, we can then set the target y-axis up a bit. And of course, you can keep playing around with all of these to move the camera around in all types of directions. And it will, of course, give you a better understanding of what the position and target are if you're still having a bit of trouble understanding that. Additionally, the copy all from game button actually has sort of finer controls over here, where instead of copying the position of the camera into here and then the target position into here, you can copy for each specific axis either from the camera target position or from the camera's actual position. So for instance, take note of the position and target position here. So for position, I'm going to press the target, and you'll notice that now this is the same as down here. If I were to go to point 1, for instance, and then for the target, select the camera here, actually, this does get a little bit weird. The camera stops updating when the position and the target are the exact same, so keep that in mind. But as you see, you can copy from... You can mix and match the different axes from both of these to get a bit more streamlined control over the program. So next, I'm actually going to go ahead and open up a save file. So you can actually save and open up files with this program. So you can edit them at a different time and such. And I'm going to open up this save right here. And you'll see we have a couple of points here. And before I go ahead and press replay points here, I also want to show off the transition time. So this is measured in seconds. The transition time is the time it takes the current point to get to the next point when we press replay points down here. So that means it's going to take 3 seconds to go from here to here. And then for this one, it's at 5. So it's going to take 5 seconds to go from here to here. And then the rest of these are at 3. So, and then there's also the easing here, easing control. So I recommend mostly only using linear, at least with this first version that I've released, because cubic I don't think is working quite as intended. Sometimes it gives kind of weird results. Sometimes you can get good looking stuff out of cubic, but not all the time. This will make it so the camera travels at a non-linear speed. It'll start slow, speed up, slow back down as it approaches its point. All right, that's enough yapping. Let's actually show off the main feature of this, the replay points. So when I press replay points, I'll start from point 1, and it's going to start moving. By the way, this is a custom version of Rico Harbor I've made. It's for the next video I'm making. I wanted to make an analogy using shipping containers and filling up the shipping containers to explain something about Super Mario Sunshine Online. And so I decided a fun way to do that would be to make this custom Rico Harbor. So that's why we're in a custom Rico Harbor right now, if you're wondering. But yeah, as you saw, the replay worked perfectly as intended. If we wanted to make it faster, we can go ahead and set the transition time to 1 second. Now be careful. My dog's barking. You do have to press enter sometimes on these when you change them. The program is a bit janky right now. Okay. Replay points, and now it's going to go super fast. And also every time you press replay, it starts on the first point for half a second. Do that one more time. As you see, it zooms by. Oh yeah, also I changed the transition time for the last point here, but it's actually kind of irrelevant since the last point doesn't go to another point. All right, and the final feature here to show off is the restore camera feature. So this is in a similar boat as when you first press preview points or replay points. When you press restore camera, nothing is going to happen because it's changing the code of the game to be back to vanilla. However, Dolphin is not expecting an outside program to be changing its code, so you have to come up to JIT, press clear cache. And now the camera is back to normal, and you can play the game as normal. Of course, you can also just load a save state if you want. Save states will also sort of reload your JIT cache, so there's that to keep in mind. Oh, yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention this. This button right here does nothing. It's for a future planned feature. You can actually read that. If it's kind of hard to read right now, but there's a little tooltip for it. Oh yeah, one thing I also forgot to mention. When you press replay here, first let's do the JIT thing. When you press replay here, the program actually hangs and acts like it's not responding, as you can see. And then after it's done, it comes back to being responsive. So again, this is because I made this program in the quick and dirty way. I wanted to make it as fast as possible. So I took a lot of shortcuts for getting things to work. So it's very messy. It's very janky. I think I am going to sort of adopt this as a pet project and keep updating it for the time being. It's not my main focus. SMSO is my main focus right now, but I would like to continue to support this tool. So in the future, some of the harder to use things will be ironed out. There's also on the GitHub at the bottom, there is a planned features tab if you'd like to read through some of those. And yeah, that's to be about the tutorial. Thank you for using my tool. I hope you have fun. I hope it serves you well if you're choosing to use it for making a video or for making a mod trailer or something like that. And yeah, that's about it. Later. One more final thing I forgot to mention. When you press replay points here, you actually retain full control of Mario, and the camera direction even stays, or the control direction of Mario even stays relative to the camera like you would expect. So it remains easy to control. It's just a fun little byproduct. I didn't mean to do this on purpose, but I can imagine some people will have fun with that. So yeah. Anyways, no more interjections, no more things I forgot. That's it. Thank you for watching. Blah.